Yes, I've been working with people around the world via the internet. I started this about 6 years ago, where I would put an advert in my website for, please, musicians, send me your ideas and we will work together. So I got musicians from Australia, New Zealand, China, India, Italy, France, Germany, Romania, Holland, England, USA, and so many people would send me ideas, and it was a great experience because the music is like an adventure. I never know what's going to come to me, and so I've been working with different people, and so I've written so many songs and ideas, and I thought, well, I must release an album of these ideas soon, and I realized I had 3 albums, enough music, so I will release one this year, one next year, and one the year after. Yes, it's funny because there's always music. Yesterday someone sent me a really beautiful piece, so I think it'll just be an ongoing situation where I will keep writing the songs, and then I start with 3 albums, and then maybe more will come over the years. Music is like never ending, you know? No, it wasn't hard or long to do. The way I think is that if the music comes to me, and I love it right away, then I will sing exactly that moment. And then I will sing and write lyrics. So within an hour or two, the song is finished. Then I will send it back to the person who sent me the music and ask if we can maybe add more percussion or less drums or something, whatever. Sometimes the music is exactly perfect, and then you put it to one side and then listen to it a couple of months later and then say, okay, well, I'll do the vocal better, now. And then it's finished, and, it's one of those things that you can do 2 or 3 or 4 songs a week if you like, and it's just a wonderful way of creation, Well, the way I work is the person that would send me the music, say, I have a friend in Rome, Alessandro, they're also a beautiful man, and he sends me some recording, and then I will say, okay, I've sing on it, I'm singing, I've written the lyrics, so send me the recording again with maybe less guitars or something, and he will do that. And then the next time I will say, please send me the files, which is each track individual, so that I'll get the individual tracks in my studio, which is in my cottage by the house, and then I will mix it like it's a proper recording studio, and that's how it works. It's a to and fro. Yeah, well, my wife, Jane, I met her 20 years ago. She was working for Ron Howard, the filmmaker, Imagine Films, very interesting filmmaker, and she was the coordinator of the music for each movie. So like Apollo 13, the other movies, so many that Ron Howard has done.
Yeah.
He's done Da Vinci Code and things like that,
Yeah.
And she was the coordinator of the music. So she is a very, very good critic. So I will play her songs that I think are fantastic, and she will say, no, not good, not good enough. And that's how we work, She's very, very good critic, and I believe in how she thinks about the music. So when I was doing the first album, Survival, I had about maybe 20 songs, so I played them, and she would say, this is great, this one great, this one no, not great, and this one works, and so on. So I let her be the more judge of the music, because I can get too close to the music, and I think everything that I do is really fantastic, of course. And it's good to have somebody who is a good music critic,
And she is also the artist critic you had. I mean, do you bring home maybe at dinner some of the ideas and and you talk about music even there? Or I mean, it's tough in a sense.
Always, always talking about music. She's a sculptor. She sculpture, and she does ceramics, and she's a painter, artist. So she's always busy in the studio in the village. But when she comes home, I'll play her songs I've done. And she's very good to bounce off, to have somebody who's honest. That's the most important thing.
Do you think that your approach to composition changed a lot through the years? I mean, from inspiration to proper physical composition. How has it changed?
In some ways, I don't think it's changed very much. I think that I'm very, very quick to find a melody. I'm quick to find a lyric, and but sometimes, you can write a song and you think it's finished, and then 2 months later you just change everything a little bit and change the lyric and make it like painting. Sometimes you do a painting in an hour and that's it. It's enough. And then sometimes you will do a painting that takes sometimes 3 or 4 months to finish because you keep going back to it, It's the same with music. I don't think that I've changed. My work with Vangelis was always very spontaneous. And the songs that I would take to Yes were always songs that were pretty much very quick songs. But working with Yes was always more musically structure, development, and then I would work with Steve or Chris or Rick or whoever was in the band. I would work with each person writing songs. I would always work with people because it's good to have other people to work with.
Yeah. In the last period, you're back. I mean, you've been very active again. Many of your fans, also in Italy, have appreciated very much your album with Mr. Rick Wakeman, The Living Tree. Do you consider Rick the partner from Yes that you have been the closest to in the years?
Well, Rick is a very interesting guy. He's very funny, and he writes beautiful music. He has a very beautiful chord sequences, and when we write together, it's very, very spontaneous for me to work with him. And when we're performing on stage, it's a lot of fun. It's good music, and it's a very wonderful evening together. So to write an album together was always like, well, do we put drums on it or bass or add an orchestra? And then we said, no, just me and Rick. It's good. It's refreshing. It's different, but it's very refreshing, and people can hear the lyric, and there's a certain dance that we do together, which is very good.
You are most known for your career with Yes, of course. But for example, as you just mentioned, you played in a band, Vangelis, which was very different in a sense from Yes. Which are your best memories of that experience, and which is the best record you did with them, in your opinion?
With Yes?
With Yes and with Vangelis also, of course.
Okay. With Yes, of course, the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge, was a time when we were very, very in harmony. We weren't big, successful yet. We were in harmony, both like friends and brothers and musical brothers, and we listened to each other. And we didn't have any big world problems. As people grow older, they do have problems with their life. It's not easy to live, and so over years, sometimes you work together on music, and not everybody is in harmony. And there was always the one album we did as well after was Going for the One, which was a really good album to do because we were in harmony as a group. And the same with 90125, very much in harmony again. And then Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. At that moment, we were very close. And over the years, it's very hard to keep that to be constant. It's not an easy thing to keep 5 people happy together in a studio. So it's you have some other albums that are very different energy. The last album I did with the Yes was Magnification, and I think that's a really good album. Half of the time the band was very, very close and very in harmony again, but it was a very difficult album to finish. But it's still a good album of music. And with Vangelis, well, that's a different story, because I love Vangelis like a brother, like a teacher, like a mentor. So everything we did to me was wonderful. Every album, we did 4 albums, and Friends of Mr. Cairo is the most well-known, I think. So I think that's an answer to your question.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. And after so many years, how do you consider yourself? Still a rock singer mostly, or opposite? Do you feel the way you express yourself?
A rock singer.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never been a rock singer. When I think of rock and roll, it's more like, I don't know, Bruce Springsteen is a great rock singer.
Okay.
Me, I'm more like a folk singer, stroke symphonic opera singer, sort of storytelling singer. I don't know, it's hard to pinpoint, but I don't think myself as a rock singer, or a rock star. I'm just very, very happy and thankful to be a musician first, and to be able to write music and come up with songs and come up with ideas for longer pieces of music, like I did with Yes. I was always driving the band to do longer pieces of music, like a crazy man. And that's the adventure of music. So I feel that I'm an adventurous singer, if you like.
Considering the long pieces that you just mentioned, for example, the album Tales from Topographic Oceans, which was a double vinyl, 4 songs, 1 per side, was very, very particular, very long and endless, even in 1973. And a lot of critics still, some of them actually, consider that kind of records the death of rock. What do you think about that? How do you respond to that? And did you ever think maybe yourself, maybe it was a little too much?
Not when I was writing it. I was writing it because I wanted to change my world. I wanted to change. I didn't want to be, you have to write another roundabout. You have to write another pop song or things. So I was jumping into the river and the ocean of music, and I'm glad that I did this. When Rick left the band because of it, it really hurt, and the critics, yes, of course, you get very hurt, and you feel like you did the wrong thing. But 20 years later, we went on tour with a young orchestra from Poland and toured Europe doing Tales from Topographic and Close to the Edge and Gates of Delirium, and it was beautiful, and the audiences loved it. Now, whether you can make critics love everything you do, I don't think so.
It's true.
But I think we did the longer pieces of music, and I'm writing them now. I just finished a new piece, and I'm writing one for next year. So I'm still writing longer form pieces of music, because it's as though it's like watching a movie. If the movie is good, you don't care how long it takes to get from A to B.
Correct.
You just go through the experience, If you don't write the right music, it's like a bad movie. You try. You don't go into a studio and say, I'm going to really write a load of rubbish. I'm really going to make a piece of music that everybody hates. I'm really going to do it. You don't think that way. You think you're writing really great work, So as I say, if we didn't do Tales, we wouldn't have done Gates of Delirium. We wouldn't have done Awaken, which is one of the greatest Yes pieces of music. Awaken is a great piece of music, modern music. And I'm performing it next year with a youth orchestra. I'm performing it next year with a classical guitar player in Seattle with an orchestra, because it's a great piece of music. Not because it's like I'm trying to prove anything, because I want to sing it. I want to be part of the presentation of that music. In fact, just before I got very sick, I was touring with 20 young kids, the School of Rock, it's called in America. And we were touring the West Coast, and we had about 6-7 shows. And they'd been practicing Awaken without telling me. And I said, when we started rehearsing for the tour, they said, "Can we do Awaken?" I said, "No, I don't think so. Let's just learn the show first. And if we get the show really good, then we can rehearse Awaken." But the show was tough, and they were doing the Heart of the Sunrise, Perpetual Change, some very difficult Yes music, and it took a little bit of rehearsing, and then we did the shows, but they were rehearsing Awaken behind my back. And then the last show, they said, "We want to do Awaken tonight, John." And I said, "Okay, okay, if you want to do it, but hey, if it breaks down, just do a drum solo, okay?" That's the way to do it. So the time came in the show, and we played Awaken, and it was so incredibly, beautifully good that I was crying. It was just so, and my wife Jane was standing on top of the table in the audience. She was loving it. It was just the most wonderful moment. So you realize, if I hadn't done all that work and the group hadn't tried to do Tales from Topographic, we wouldn't have done such a beautiful piece of music that is embraced by young people now. That's a long explanation. Sorry.
No, that's good. Thanks so much. And on the other hand, thinking about the period of Owner of a Lonely Heart, that kind of period where, critics were talking bad about the band because, they're becoming a pop band, and some fans felt betrayed in a sense by that period. How do you look at it now? How you lived that back then and how you look at it now?
Well, I play that song every show. That I'm playing my last show of the tour tonight, and I play "Owner of a Lonely Heart" because I helped to write it, and I play it with just acoustic guitar. People love it. There's always going to be critics about what you do, and there's always going to be people who are not happy with what you do. I thought when I heard the music for 90125 that it was a great breakthrough musically. I knew it was going to be a pop hit because the record company knew it was going to be a pop hit, because the record company wanted it to be a pop hit because they spent so much money on making the record. So they spent a lot of money to make it pop hit, because that's how people do it. They spend money on promotion, they spend money on advertising, and eventually, but it was still a great record to me, and the album was such a good record. So I had no worries as to why I got involved to sing it, because I thought that the show that we would put on would be very, very exciting, and we could tour the world. We were number one around the world, and it's not a bad thing to do. In my heart, I was thinking, I want to push them back to becoming my idea of Yes, and that's why when we did the next album, which was Big Generator, I didn't like it. I didn't like the energy around it. It was too business. It was too, let's make a hit single, too, let's make money. So I did it.
So you mean the first one was spontaneous, was something that came, and the second one wanted to be the copy of the other one. That's what you mean?
Yeah, so I was told by the producer, Trevor Horn, saying, "Please don't come to rehearsal. Please don't come to recording. Come in 3 months." And so I went and did an album with Vangelis, and then I wrote another album, I think, for Christmas. 3 ships. And I also did some other music. I just kept busy because if they didn't want me to be involved in the creation, that's the majority of the band wanted to work that way. So I couldn't force them. So I just stayed away. And I felt it wasn't part of my life so much. So I did it. But then I thought, this is not what I want to do. Maybe I'll get in touch with Steve and Bill and Rick. And that's why we did Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. So in a way, it was the way things are.
You mentioned the School of Rock thing, and I know you also been part of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp thing. How would you describe also that experience? And it was also a matter of teaching, or also a matter of learning something for yourself in those experiences?
It's both. Yeah, it's a both experience. You go through teaching young musicians and then surprised how good they are. And it's a very learning experience for me. And I work with young musicians all the time now. I've started working with youth orchestras, and I just love it. It's an incredible, hard to say, it's just an incredible feeling to be with young musicians and seeing how good they are and how they love the music that I've created and helped to create over the years with Yes and Vangelis. And I was in a place called Bethlehem 3 weeks ago, and I was doing my sound check in Pennsylvania. And I was doing my sound check, and I was told that the School of Rock of Bethlehem was downstairs and rehearsing and doing a show. So I went down, and they were doing Perpetual Change. And I jumped up on stage with them and started singing, and it's actually on YouTube. So I just felt, these kids are so damn good, and they're playing the music so good. And you think, it was all worthwhile. All the great music that Yes did is still being learned by young musicians. And to work with them is such a fulfilling experience. And doing the other thing is more just fun. It's crazy fun working with old people in the fantasy camp because they're just so excited to meet you, and you teach them a little bit and try to help. The way it works is that you say you have 5 musicians, and then you have 5 different bands of older sort of musicians who pay to be there, and you work with them. And most of them are people who work in hospitals, doctors, corporate people, regular people who, drive buses. But they've put money up, $1,000, I think it is, for a weekend. And they come and they play in bands. And then you have a personal band I will work with, and I'll write a song with them and just show them how easy it is to just move around on stage. And that's how you work. So that's more of just a fun thing for a couple of days. But with the School of Rock, that's a lifetime experience. I'm still working with them. And I think about a week ago, I had 6 guys from School of Rock came to my show, and we hugged. And they've got a band together now. And it's just wonderful to watch these young musicians grow.
So you feel, in a sense, Uncle Anderson for them?
Yes, I'm an older statesman. I'm a legend. I'm a legend in my own spare time.
And now I have to make a question about Italy, of course. Which are your best memories of our country, the ones that you keep? Maybe about the crowd, the food, I don't know. And do you remember?
So many.
So many? Okay, yeah. That's good.
I have one where I was on tour with Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe, and for some reason I got a very bad cold and I couldn't sing in Rome. And it was Rome or Milan, I think it was Rome. And I went to the audience and I said, we started the first song, and I said, my voice, I can't sing. And they started singing. And they sang every song all the way through the show. and that's never ever been happened to me. And it was just a wonderful experience. I was so unhappy that I couldn't sing, but they sang everything.
Wow, great. Big emotion.
For me.
And do you remember any of the bands that opened your concerts in Italy? For example, in the 70s, one in all, the world famous PFM. Do you remember about them?
Oh, yes. Great band. And I met them a couple of times when I was towards the end of the 70s. I went to, where is it? Oh gosh, you're going to have to edit now. Madonna.
Uh-huh.
Modena. I went to Modena. Is it Modena?
Yeah, Madonna, yeah.
Yes, Modena. I went there to investigate the surround sound system, and one of the guys was from the PFM. And we met and we talked and we went for a lovely meal. And the last time I was in Italy, me and my wife Jane, we had the best time in Rome ever. And just walking around, there was something about Rome at that moment. And we've been to Sorrento. I did a show there. And my friend Alessandro De Rosso, he came with us and his girlfriend. And it was just a wonderful experience. And me and Jane, whenever we think Italy, we must go to the Amalfi Coast. We have to go on a holiday, and I have to write an opera. I want to write some music there. I want to go live there and write. That's what I think,
Wow, great. So do you have any plans to come back soon here?
I would love to. It's a question of getting me and Alessandro. We've written 2 musicals. And we're just looking for a production company to be interested, and then we would go maybe somewhere like the Amalfi Coast and finish it off and rewrite everything and get it all ready for production. But we just need to find people that are interested. And, I remember my wife, Jane, she took me to Cinque Terre for our honeymoon.
Oh.
That was amazing.
Nice. And so you just talked about these musicals. Do you have anything defined? I mean, is that about music or different themes? Any stories? Can you tell us more about it?
Well, it's music that it's all in preparation. We're writing one musical is about a famous book. It's called The Alchemist. It's loosely based on that story. And the other one is all about addiction.
Okay.
And the crazy world of addiction. We're addicted to spending money. We're addicted to eating food. We're addicted to drugs. We're addicted to advertising. We're addicted to TV. We're addicted instead of slowly coming back to who we truly are. The pure addiction to love.
Yeah. So will there
sort of thing?
Yeah. Will there be any tour for Survival and Other Stories, or a proper tour, or it's just a record and
It's hard to say. If the record is very well received, of course, then I would love to be able to get a group of musicians and perform the idea of the music and the album, of course. But we will see. It's like I'm never sure what to do next. I'm just very open. I'm happy to do my solo show because it's just me and my wife and 2 guitars, and we drive around. That's lovely. To get a group together, I'm not sure. It's more a question of, I love working with the youth orchestras. That's beautiful to do. We'll see what happens.
So you're open. In this moment, anything can happen.
Very open. I like that word.
Thanks so much, Mr. Anderson, for your time and this great interview. And of course, we hope to have you here in Italy soon and come visit us at LineaRock when you'll be in Milan, okay?
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.